Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brittany and today we're doing a video I'm so excited about, and that is a deep dive into the cultural icon, Miss Cleo. Y'all remember Miss Cleo, right?
If you want him to believe that it's over, then you gotta stop accepting the booty calls at 2 a.m. in the morning. You understand?
Yeah.
Could you tell me what type of direction is my life headed into?
Last 4 nights, your feelings have been hurt, so you've been up all night.
Yes.
You haven't been, and this is around a relationship.
Oh, talk about it.
Okay? Don't make me take you to church, young man.
She was clearly a cultural icon, but what happened? So today we're gonna look at the history of Miss Cleo's life. I'm gonna take you through the years before she was Cleo and to the years after. If you like deep dives, please go ahead and subscribe. I'm trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of 2021. So I would love it if you came part of this little corner of the internet. So let's jump into it. So Miss Cleo, before she had that name, she was born as Uri Del Harris in LA on August 12th of 1962. That makes her a Leo with a Scorpio rising. That's just a little tidbit of information for you to know as we go through this story. You don't have to do anything with it. But it is interesting. It is interesting. So she was born to Catholic Caribbean parents, and it says that early on she was sent to an all-girls boarding school. I did see in another article that they mentioned that her parents were really well off. I think that had to do with the fact that they were able to send her to an all-girls boarding school, but outside of that, there's really not a lot of information about her parents. Moving forward, we see in about 1981 that Harris, I'll kind of go in between calling her Harris and Cleo, just so you know, because she tends to have a lot of pseudonyms. Harris had a daughter with her then husband, and by 1983 her and her ex-husband divorced, and there's really no information about her daughter or her ex-husband. I don't think there needs to be, I just wanted to bring it up. Then we move into 1996, and this is when we start learning a little bit more about Harris's life. We find out that Harris moves to Seattle, Washington and opens up a theater company with her then partner. And while they're there, Harris writes several plays, including one called For Women Only. And I wasn't able to find out a whole lot of information about this, but I do know that this play written by Harris was an autobiographical script about a woman from Jamaica named Cleo. So that's just interesting. But it's also important to note that when she was in Seattle, she didn't go by Uri. She actually went by Ray Paris instead of Uri Harris. So Paris with a P. And honestly, I really didn't think too much of this, that she had this different name when she was in theater, because I'm like, I don't know, a lot of actors end up changing their name, you know, so it sounds more theatrical or memorable or whatnot. But Harris had a lot of names. A lot of names. A lot of names. Anyways, in 1997, Harris was then working for the Langston Hughes Cultural Arts Center, and she ended up wrapping up one of her last plays called The Supper Club Cafe. It totally bombed, guys. It bombed, and there's really no shame in that, but there does seem to be a little shame in the fact that Harris did not pay all of her actors and staff. In one article, it even referenced that kids that were part of the production did not get paid. She mentioned that the reason she wasn't able to pay her staff and her actors was because she was actually fighting a battle with bone cancer. And because of her rising medical costs, she wasn't going to be able to pay them. Now, this claim of bone cancer was completely unsubstantiated, and I didn't find any additional information about it, but even though she didn't pay them at the completion of the play, she did decide to write a letter to each cast member acknowledging the debts that they were owed and promising to pay them. From all I could find, that never happened. Now, I gotta be honest, I was a little confused on how you could work for a place like like the Langston Hughes Cultural Arts Center or any kind of specific art center and put on a play without paying people, but I looked it up just today to kind of see what's going on with that place, and it looks so cool, you guys. I'm gonna leave the link below. I don't live in Seattle, but if I did, I would definitely check out a show there. And it looks like the current Cultural Arts Center is only being run by 2 people, so if that's how it was back in the 90s, I can imagine that with such a small operation, you are definitely potentially going to have someone, they can take advantage of not having that much oversight. Anyways, this kind of wraps up the Miss Cleo. So at this point, you know, Harris has attempted to be a theater owner and a playwright, and now it brings us all the way to the end of the 90s when Harris starts working for the Psychic Readers Network, or PRN, and she starts working there in the late 90s under the pseudonym Cleo. So this particular part, the fact that she has yet another name, I don't actually find that weird, because I think a lot of people, especially when they work in like customer service or a lot of phone work, they are encouraged to pick an alias for safety and security reasons, just so, you know, people can't look them up or whatever. So I feel like it was just a name that she enjoyed. I mean, obviously from her writing her play, we already know that she had an affinity to this Jamaican woman named Cleo. So I don't think the name was a con, but Cleo wasn't just a name, or Miss Cleo rather. It came with a full background of Harris being a Jamaican shaman from Trelawney, Jamaica. Obviously, Jamaican shaman. As a quick note, shamanism is a religious practice that involves someone, a shaman, who is believed to interact with the spirit world. And this connection can be used to guide or heal us over here in the earthly plane. So a shaman has that like deep connection and can really help push you in the right direction by using the direction of the spirit. So as we know, Harris was actually an LA native, so let's just say she was kind of acting the part, right? Now, Miss Cleo absolutely blew up. Okay, Miss Cleo blew up, and if you were alive in the late 90s, early 2000s, you know she blew up. You saw her on TV late at night. I used to watch her with my grandma, and it was kind of like a mix of like a talk show and an infomercial. Like, she would put people's business all the way out there, but she also kind of enticed you to call her to find out what was next in your life. And she had a lot of good deals.
Some of our best clients are already saving big. Why pay $4.99 a minute for psychic advice when we'll give it to you for less than $1 a minute?
So clearly there was too much promotion, too much popularity, and too many people calling to speak directly to Miss Cleo for her to take all of those calls. It just would have been impossible. So Miss Cleo had associates who were not shamans but actors reading from a script, and I actually think actors is probably giving them a little too much credit. It's like no shade to them, but I did read an article from a woman who said that she did participate or work for the Psychic Readers Network back in around 2000, and that she wasn't an actor at all. She was an English major and just was supposed to kind of make it up as she went along. Hello. Hi, my name is Clara, and I am a special associate of Miss Cleo, and she has put me on the line to help you today, to connect you with the spirit world. Yes, can you tell me, why are you calling, darling? Yes, we all want to know if we will have love in our lives, don't we? Yes, we do. You know what, honey? Let me consult the cards. Just give me a minute. I have to consult the cards to see what your love life's gonna be like, darling. Just give me a minute. Leroy, will you go get me a Pepsi Clear? Okay. Darling, I am just coming back because these cards are speaking to me. They are saying that love is on the way. Yes, honey. Oh my goodness, 2000 is gonna be your year. The millennium is yours. Okay. Oh, what's his name? Okay. Yes, you know what? I'm getting a lot of information. Give me 1 second. Let me put you on hold real quick. Leroy, I said a Pepsi Clear, not a regular Pepsi. Oh my God. Honey, thank you so much for waiting. I am seeing a basketball. Does that mean anything to you? A basketball? No, you know what I think it means? I think his name might be Michael, or it could be Jordan. All right, honey, you have a great day. Thank you so much for calling the Psychic Readers Network. Bye. So the booming popularity of Miss Cleo started to highlight some of the deceptive practices of PRN, or the Psychic Reading Network. It turns out like those free calls weren't so free. In 2001, Access Resource Services, which was kind of like the main company that owned Psychic Reading Network, was sued by just a few unhappy customers. Let me read from my list. The entire states of Arkansas, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Missouri, New York, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Florida, along with the FCC, more scarily known as the Federal Communications Commissions. Now, listen, I always hear things like FCC and I'm like, oh, that sounds scary. But I wanted to look it up so that I could tell you guys in this video. So the FCC, or the Federal Communications Commission, it regulates interstate and international communications by television, radio, wire, satellite, and cable in all 50 states, the District of Columbia, and the U.S. territory. So they like are monitoring what's going on and what's being put out to customers. So even they were in on this lawsuit. Do you hear my dog? So all of these states and the FCC came together, and the FTC actually headed a lawsuit against the Psychic Reading Network, or Associate Services, whatever you want to call it. Now, what does the FTC do? Now, you guys might be a little more familiar with FTC because a lot of your favorite YouTubers might actually put that little disclaimer in the bottom bar, and basically it has to do with transparency of your business practices. But let me read to you what the FTC, or the Federal Trade Commission, does. It enforces federal consumer protection laws that prevent fraud, deception, and unfair business practices. Deception, fraud, and unfair business practices. That's really important. The commission also enforces federal antitrust laws that prohibit anti-competitive mergers and other business practices that could lead to higher prices, fewer choices, and less innovation. So monopolies and stuff like that. But anyways, so the FTC comes together and they sue Stephen Fetter and Peter Storrs. Let me tell you guys, it was so easy to find tons of pictures and a lot of articles about Miss Cleo. I could barely find pictures of these two guys, and it's important to me. I want to make a point about it, but I just want to let you know. I am going to try to insert pictures of them, but I might not be able to find them. So anyways, the FTC sued these two men because they were the CEOs of the company. They were sued for deceptive advertising, billing, and collection practices. So like, what does that mean? What did they actually do? So some of the things that were involved in the complaint were promising free calls and charging at a certain point anyway, but never letting the customer know when the charges would kick in. Promising on, you know, advertisements and whatnot that the first 3 minutes is free, but making sure everyone's on hold for 4 minutes. Then I found this article from 2002 where this woman actually wrote in and she was accounting her experience dealing with this Psychic Reading Network. Now, this woman had never called the line, her or her husband, but she got an extra charge on her landline phone because it's 2000, all right? Don't come for her. It was a collection letter for $119.76. Now, despite the fact that neither one of them had ever called the number, they were still getting billed, and they refused to pay it because the number that got billed had been disconnected for 6 months and was actually disconnected during the time of the bill. So like, it literally doesn't make sense. what are we doing here? This was also involved in how the Psychic Readers Network was sued, because there was a complaint that this company was sending people to collections without doing any kind of research or investigation to make sure that the collection claims were valid. And so things like this were definitely happening all the time. So they were just charging people out the wazoo. And at the face of the company, you got Miss Cleo, call me now, right? In fact, her persona ran so deep through this company that even the collection letter, okay, I don't want to get this wrong because this is so shady to me. So even the collection letter says, Miss Cleo is urging you to take responsibility for your spiritual journey? Ah, that's so gross. And as terrible and as grimy as that letter feels, like, take responsibility for your spiritual journey, my phone was cut off. What are you talking about? And as terrible and as grimy as that collection's message was, at the end of the day, Harris, or Miss Cleo, wasn't the one sending the letter. This was a practice that was put in place by the CEOs and the CFOs and top management to ask people to take responsibility for their spiritual journey. It's true that Harris became the complete face of a company that was netting about $400 million a year. $400 million a year. That is crazy. But in a documentary called Hotline, Harris explains that she only got paid $1,750 for 2.5 days on set where she was filming the Miss Cleo infomercials. And this is where it gets even like more complicated, I feel like. She says that she went on set for 2.5 days of filming and they paid her $1,750. She really didn't think anything of it. Like, it was just gonna be another infomercial, draw up some interest and whatnot. They did kind of direct her during her time on set that they wanted her to be a certain way. I believe she described it in the documentary as bush. Let me look that up. Oh no, I found this article. This is on the spot research, so I don't even know if this is correct, but it says bush means to look awful. They wanted her to look awful? But I think essentially what she was saying is the producers and the directors of the commercial wanted her to be very Jamaican, very Miss Cleo, like really amp up this persona of, you know, her shaman heritage and her Jamaican roots. And she had experience in theater, and honestly, I mean, we can tell that her commercials obviously went super well. They were all over TV and people really connected with them. The other thing that I found absolutely wild is that besides getting paid the $1,750 for her time being in the commercials, she also mentioned that she only got paid 24 cents a minute while she was working at the Psychic Readers Network. And that 24 cents a minute was actually very high because most of the employees who came in made more around like 18 cents. But obviously she was the face of company and her extension was really highly utilized, which just is insane. And the company charged the upwards of $5 a minute. And just to kind of reiterate that, it's 24 cents a minute you can keep the other person on the line, not 24 cents a minute while you're working. Obviously that would actually kind of be a good wage, but no. So you are automatically like motivated to keep these people talking and keep them on the phone, which is kind of gross. So anyways, she was definitely the face of the company, but she wasn't the owner and operator. All of these horrible things that they were doing, so many people thought that Miss Cleo was the head of this company, like it was Miss Cleo's Psychic Network, but it wasn't. It was Psychic Readers Network, and Miss Cleo just happened to be an employee who got recruited to be in a commercial. Okay, I've been thinking about this. It's time for one of my terrible analogies. You guys, you know, I feel like I'm good at analogies, but then every time I try to do one, it's just like, it's so bad. So bad. But I'm gonna do it anyways because I wrote it out, so I'm gonna do it. Okay. Imagine if you were, maybe it's not an analogy, maybe it's a metaphor. whatever, this isn't an English class. Imagine if you're working for a company and they were like, you know what, you're gonna go on TV and you're gonna be undercover boss and you're gonna be the CEO. We're gonna pretend you're the CEO for this undercover boss TV show. And for some reason, everyone in the world is watching Undercover Boss this night and they're like, hey, that's you. It's you. You're the CEO of the company. You know internally you are not the CEO of the company. Maybe you're doing it just to make a little extra cash or something like that. But you're not actually the CEO. You're just not. But you play it on TV, right? You play this person on TV. You fall into the character and whatnot. And let's say that episode blows up. It's super memeable or something. People love it. And then a month later, you find out the real CEO of the company has been stealing all of the payment from the workers or something, just something totally terrible. And then your picture is plastered everywhere because as far as everyone knows, you're the CEO. And this is kind of, I don't want to say the danger because that seems too serious, but just one of the things to think about when it comes to the media. It's kind of all about how certain things are presented. The same story can be told two very different ways. We could have had a story about how this company, the Psychic Readers Network, just was really implementing some terrible practices, and it could have been like, Psychic Readers Network, most famously known for Miss Cleo, is being charged by the FTC. But instead we saw headlines like, Miss Cleo is a fraud. Miss Cleo scamming people. And so that changes the narrative without actually changing the story, if that makes sense. So anyways, if she is just an employee, why all the heat? Like, besides the media, you know, throwing her name in stuff to get more visibility, because I do think she was a sensation at that time, and I do think people would be more interested in learning about who Miss Cleo was. But normally employees don't get dragged into like high level company and state lawsuits. Well, you know whose fault it was? It's Florida. Is that surprising to anyone? I don't know. I just always feel like Florida's bad news. My best friend lives in Florida though. Hey girl, I hope you're okay. Anyways, so Florida seems to be the reason that Miss Cleo really got put on blast during this lawsuit. And that's because Florida is one of the only states that will legally sue the spokesperson of something. So most states, they go exactly, you know, what I feel like is the source. They go to the company and the policies and procedures. But Florida can actually sue a spokesperson. So Florida sued Harris in the lawsuit, aka Miss Cleo, and that is why we kind of learned all of this information about her, that in fact she was not Jamaican, born in Jamaica. She wasn't a Jamaican shaman. She was born in LA, and her parents live in LA. Like, it just was a mess, and it all got dragged up because Florida was like, we're suing you. Now I kind of want to go over like the details of the lawsuit because I think it's important. So according to the lawsuit, the average call was $60. So that means an average of 12 charged minutes, because with each minute being like $5. So I thought that was interesting because it's 12 minutes charged. So you might have gotten 3 minutes free. So maybe average call was like 15 minutes. So $60 per call. Now, many of you, I'm sure, are watching are too young to remember when we had to pay for our minutes, or we got like a little, you get 200 minutes, but if you called after 7, it was free, or weekends was free too. So, but even for me, even the dinosaur that I am, remembering when we had to pay per text message and call me when my minutes are free, $60 is absolutely preposterous. It makes my heart hurt. So it's a lot of money. And through all of these like super shiesty practices of the Psychic Readers Network, they had pending charges at the time of their lawsuit of $1 billion, okay? $1 billion in early 2000s. I know there's like so many billionaires now, which is blowing my mind, because I remember thinking like, there's not that many billionaires, and now Jeff Bezos has got like $800 million. It's insane. I know that's not how you say his name, but he's got so much money, he doesn't care. just don't know. So they, at that time, they had pending income of $1 billion between active charges had gone to collections and all that stuff, which was absolutely crazy. And as corrupt companies seem to always do, they cut a deal with the FTC. Basically, they eliminated $500 million worth of charges and ended up paying a fine to the FTC of $5 million. Now, for reference, here's a graph showing how much money they lost. I don't know, this just rubs me the wrong way because we already see all of these practices that they were implementing that were so very deceptive and wrong, and the fact that they were like, we still want $500 million just seems crazy to me, but whatever. I'm only a messenger, right? This is pretty interesting though. So Harris, like I said, was brought into trial because of Florida suing her directly, being the spokesperson, but they ended up dropping the charges on one condition, and that condition was that she wouldn't turn around and sue them back. And I can't imagine how scary it would be to be sued by the FTC. Like, that seems extremely terrifying, honestly. It gives me heart palpitations, but at the same time, I find it very interesting that, or sorry, she wasn't sued by the FTC, by the state of Florida, but I do find it very telling that that was their main concern. And I think had they done a little bit more research, and if this district attorney or whoever ended up suing them ended up bringing up the lawsuit in Florida, maybe shouldn't have been so, I don't know, trigger happy about it. Like, why loop her into the mix as an employee when she doesn't own the company and she doesn't have anything to do with the deceptive practices? In fact, this is the interesting part about this whole lawsuit. During their time, they found that pretty much no one complained about the quality of the service, even though we find out through this lawsuit that tons of these people obviously they have no experience. They're not psychics. They never claim to be. They're reading from a script. They don't know what's going on. Many of the people who called in didn't have anything but good things to actually say about the psychic reading. It was the charges afterwards and how the billing was handled that they had a problem with. So I don't know, I just find that interesting. So with all this being said, like, does this make Miss Cleo, aka Ure Harris, aka Ray Paris, a con artist? I mean, maybe, but maybe not. Like, I have conflicting emotions about this, right? Because while Harris was at the peak of her notoriety and popularity, she was on TV, she was doing readings, and it seemed like on the videos with the calls that she was really helping people and kind of knew what she was doing, especially in the talk shows. She was on shows like Jenny Jones back in the day and just was like very popular. They even released a book about tarot cards, like with her face on it, and a deck of tarot cards. But those things, the books and the tarot cards, were through the Psychic Reader Network, and they ate up all the profit. But the talk shows and stuff, when I watch those, I get the sense that she's being genuine, or at least she believes that she's being genuine. Now, I will say I'm the first person to believe in psychics, magic, crystals, all that stuff. I believe in all of that stuff fully, but I did find it interesting that in the 2014 documentary Hotline, where Harris is on that, and she actually at that point goes by the name Cleo Millie Harris, so that's another name for you, but she mentions that she was raised around, I believe, a grandmother who had spiritual abilities, and that she felt from a very young age that she had those same abilities to communicate with the spirit realm and use that to help guide people and talk with them and help them. So I'm not here to say if Miss Cleo was a psychic or not. In fact, the Psychic Readers Network had in their statements that they don't claim that they have real psychics, or that the psychics will predict real things, and that it was all for entertainment value. So that was never really on the table as a point of contention. I guess my thought is, if you feel as an individual, because almost these psychics on the other end of these call lines were like independent contractors. They could work from home, they had their own extension, and they got paid through the company. So they might not have always known what was going on with everyone else, or who else they hired, or how they did it. And Harris says that in her interview, she was forced to give a reading, or not forced, but you know, she had to give a reading to get the job. So if you're going through all of these things and you really do believe in your personal powers in terms of, you know, being able to communicate with the psychic realm, I don't know if it's fair to say that you're a con artist because you're the face of a company that's shisty. Now, if you're sitting in the room with them while they talk about charging unclaimed numbers and forcing people to wait so that they can get more money out of them and whatnot, then yeah, you're definitely a con artist and you're trying to get money out of people for no reason. But it really does seem like, through all of the articles I read about Harris and some of the documentary I watched and some of the clips I saw, that she really truly believed in her powers. And like I said, no one had any complaints about the services. So once again, I'm not here to debate if she was a real psychic or not, but I don't actually think that she had ill intent. Now, you try to make a little money, you pretend to be a shaman from Jamaica. I mean, I don't know. To me, it's kind of like just being in a commercial that blows up. You probably don't think much of it. Like, I don't think that she was expecting for her infomercial to change the entire structure of the company and end up her being the face of this company and everyone thinking it's Miss Cleo's company. I don't think that was the thought. Now, obviously, like, producers, directors, they're smart, and marketing people are smart, and they know what we're going to connect to, and once we connect to it, they give us more and more of it. So I do kind of feel like, I mean, it definitely evolved into that, but at that point the train's kind of going a million miles a minute. Do you then just come out and say, hey, I'm gonna call a news article and say I'm not actually a Jamaican shaman? Like, I don't know. I just feel like she didn't have ill intent. So that's just my personal opinion on it. But okay, I digress. So after all this shisty stuff, I'm trying not to swear. Can you tell? I'm trying so hard. I'm trying so hard. Okay. After all of this blew up and the world exhausted all its "she should have seen it coming" jokes, those, just as like a side note, jokes that are like, oh, she's a psychic, she should have seen it coming, they give me the same energy as people who go, oh, it must be free when something doesn't scan at a store. As someone who has worked years, soul crushing, okay, soul crushing retail, please stop saying that joke, okay? I worked retail for like 7 years, heard that joke 500 million times, once a day. And if you don't know what to say, just don't say it. You know, those people have said that so many times in their life. Anyways, let's just leave that be. So I digress. So after this whole lawsuit blows up her life, Harris actually continues to use the Miss Cleo persona for some very interesting business ventures. Let's take a look. So one of the most notable things was that she was actually a voice in Grand Theft Auto Vice City. She played Auntie Paulette.
Maybe she can give you a little juju after all of this. Give you some magic to give the lawman the stink eye.
She was also a spokeswoman in 2003 for a music network called Fuse. Those Fuse all caps. I wonder what Fuse stands for. So Fuse, it says it's an paid American television channel launched in the 90s, and it did like general entertainment, lifestyle programming targeting multicultural young adults. It looks like it hosted some concerts and whatnot, but anyways, again, I digress. Miss Cleo was a spokeswoman in 2003 for the network called Fuse. And this is really funny. So apparently while she was working with Fuse or whatever, she was supposed to be doing this show with like Tammy Faye Baker and two other people that I can't remember their names. But Tammy Faye Messner, sorry, at the time she was Tammy Faye Baker, but now known as Tammy Faye Messner. By the way, Tammy Faye, that's a whole other story. If y'all want to hear about Tammy Faye, take the poll, okay? I'm gonna list my next ideas for a deep dive up here. So anyways, okay. So even though Tammy Faye thought that Miss Cleo, aka Harris, was a fraud, she refused to be in the same room with her because psychics went against her Christian beliefs. You know what? This gives me the same energy as this article I read once about this lady who was disgusted with anyone who called themselves a vegetarian who ate meat substitutes because they looked too much like meat. Come on now. Okay. Anyway, so I guess she didn't get to sit with Tammy Faye. In 2005, she was in a car dealership commercial as Miss Cleo. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm hoping that it's something like, "I see big savings in your future. Call me now." See, that's why I didn't get hired. I mean, I was also in 2000, I was 12. So I probably wouldn't have been eligible to work at the Psychic Readers Network, but what you saw was my best acting work, so I'm not surprised I didn't get a call. In 2014, I've mentioned this a couple times, Harris was in my favorite genre of film, which was a documentary. It's called Hotline. It actually was a really good documentary that talked about hotline workers and how the history and kind of the technology has really changed what hotlines are, but how important they are still. During that, she went by the pseudonym Cleo Millie Harris, and she talked about her experience growing up, how she does have the ability to converse with spirits, and she talked about her pay and just her experience being the face of the Psychic Readers Network and Miss Cleo. And really at the end it was kind of sad. She mentions that after she was roped into this lawsuit by the state of Florida and everything started to come out, that she was born in California, but you know, really the lawsuit was dropped and that everything was being brought against the Psychic Readers Network. She mentioned going to her lawyer and saying, well, certainly now, you know, as the truth comes out and people learn that it was actually the network, it wasn't me, certainly things will change and they'll understand it wasn't me. And her lawyer told her not to count on it. And she actually started crying a little bit. So I did feel for her. Like I said, I don't know. Anyways, so that was in 2014. In 2015, she did the cereal commercial for French Toast Crunch. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, it's French Toast Crunch. It's those little cereals that look like French toast. But the Psychic Reader Network is so freaking salty. And so they actually didn't want her to use the Miss Cleo persona because they owned it due to the lawsuit, and so the advertisements were completely discontinued. But I do believe the internet has stored those for us, so we'll watch that now. I don't know why I did that accent. I'm sorry.
Go on, babies. Miss Cleo is back. Now I have a vision that you are going to take that spoon and scoop up a bite of French Toast Crunch. Oh, cinnamony and maple syrupy. French Toast Crunch is back and I predict you'll love it. Eat it now.
So unfortunately in 2016, Harris passed away from colon cancer that eventually spread to her liver and lungs. And she did mention, you know, in the documentary that even though everything kind of went sour with her experience at the Psychic Readers Network, she truly did enjoy being able to connect with people and thinks that she did do a huge service to them by making their life, you know, better, being able to talk with them, chat with them, and make their day a little brighter. She even mentioned that after she ended her time with the Psychic Readers Network, that she ended up doing a free call line herself. I wasn't able to find too much information about her free hotline, but I thought that was really cool. Now, you may be wondering, well, Brittany, you talked about all the bad stuff that happened to Miss Cleo. Let's hear about the bad stuff that happened to the Psychic Readers Network. I want to hear that they got their just desserts. Is it just desserts or is it just deserves? Who bought me a camera? I did. What a decision. So here's the dealio squealio, guys. The Psychic Readers Network, from what I could find, is still in business. I read an article that said they were still in business post lawsuit, but the thing is, you cannot find them on the internet. I looked, but, and this is just allegedly, just an opinion. Don't nobody come for me. This is just a thought. It's an opinion. It's not legally true. I did find a website called California Psychics that was established in 2002 when, I just find it a little interesting, the lawsuit with the Psychic Readers Network was closed. I'm sorry, Sherlock Holmes who? I find it interesting. Now, even if I'm completely wrong about the Psychic Readers Network, you know, coming back as the California Psychics, the owners of the Psychic Readers Network are doing just fine, because actually I found an article from March 10th of 2021, you guys. So this is just a few months ago. Steve Fetter and his partner Lou Thomas Trusclair, and they are the couple that currently owns the Psychic Readers Network, sold their waterfront mansion for $14 million. Now, this house is 9,300 square feet. 9,300 square feet. That house could eat 5 of my houses. That's just the house, but also with the lot and stuff, that's another 12,000 square feet. Oh my God. It looks like they bought the home in 2013 for $11.5 million. It features 5 bedrooms, 7.5 bathrooms, a fitness room, a pool, a theater room, a balcony, a fireplace, and a dock. Okay, one of these things is not like the other. I'm sorry. First of all, 2 thoughts. One, when you know someone's rich when they have more bathrooms than bedrooms. I don't know why it is, but like, it's like the more indoor plumbing you have, the more affluent you are. But also, they said the home features 5 bedrooms, all right, 7.5 bathrooms, a fitness room, a pool, a theater, a balcony, a fireplace. Don't a lot of houses have fireplaces? Maybe that's different for Florida. It just seems like, and a fireplace. And that they ended on that, it's just like, wah, wah. It's like, I won $13 million at the lottery. And I got a free sandwich from Subway. Like, I don't know, maybe flip those around. Anyways, so here's the thing about psychics, about anything like this, right? We talked about it in the last video when I talked about the psychic con artist specifically, but even in this situation with Miss Cleo, a lot of the time, and I think we can tell from, you know, nobody really being dissatisfied with the services, it's more about connection, human connection and support, especially with these hotlines. So many times you're in such a vulnerable state, or you're really at just like a total impasse. You don't know what to do, that having someone who you don't know, who's not going to judge you, who, yes, you're paying for their time, but you're really paying for their emotional support, it can mean so much to someone. And so I'm really not surprised that these businesses are thriving. I do hope that they've really kind of turned a new leaf, and I hope that wherever Psychic Readers Network might be, allegedly California Psychics, I don't know, it's just an opinion, but I hope they are not taking advantage of people for their money. But all that being said, all this kind of made me want to go to a psychic. But psychics are just like tarot, right? Tarot cards, which I've also heard pronounced tarot cards. I don't know. But it's really speaking to something inside ourselves. We know what we want. A lot of times we know what we have to do, but It's a lot easier to do things when we have someone in our corner, even if it's a psychic from a million miles away. So anyways, you guys, that is my deep dive into Miss Cleo. It was an absolute doozy, don't you think? I had so much fun writing this, I can't even tell you. I was feeling it. I was enjoying my whole life writing this and just reading all the articles, and I really got a different frame of mind for who Miss Cleo was and what my opinion was on her. I think that I saw so many really cool videos and synopsis of different parts of her life, and they all had very unique spins. Before this, I used to call Miss Cleo the absolute con artist who wasn't a real psychic and conned people out of all their money. And now I really just think that she was probably a pretty well-intended person who kind of got raked over the coals by a big corporation. So anyways, what do you think though? Like, let me know below. How are your feelings on Miss Cleo? Did you ever see her commercials back in the day? Did you ever call her on your parents' phone number? Did you ever call her on your parents' phone number? Do they know? Leave me your favorite Miss Cleo stories below, and if you want me to deep dive into somebody else next, if you have an idea, let me know. All right guys, I will see you in the next one. Bye. Call me now. Call me now. Yeah, call me now. I have some stars in my makeup in honor, so yeah. Oh my god, I feel like I'm stumbling through this. Ah!